all churches have statues of saints, don't they?
Yes.
And why is it that we have statues of saints? I mean, is the statue representing that saint actually that saint?
No. We
No.
don't believe that.
No.
They're
so,
in heaven.
So then, are we worshiping the saints?
No. Although some people think that we do. We do
That's
not
ridiculous,
worship
right?
saints.
No, and do we go up to the statue and we're like, oh, Saint Anthony or anything? No.
No. Not at
No,
all.
no. What? It's representing that saint so that we can call to mind all that that saint did, right?
Yeah, it's like if I have a picture of my friend at the side of my bed or on my wall, every time I look at that picture, I'm remembering my friend and my heart fills up with love and joy, and I think about all the memories that we've had together.
Okay, so devotion to the saints is also then very different from the worship we give to God. In fact, worship, or latria, is only given to God. Isn't that true?
That's right.
And then there's dulia, which means veneration, and we offer veneration to the saints because they're in heaven, because they are the models of virtue that we are trying to imitate in our own life. But does the Blessed Virgin Mary receive something a little bit extra special?
Yes, it's called hyperdulia, even higher than the saints.
And so but still less than God,
Absolutely.
because the Blessed Virgin Mary isn't God.
No.
Okay, so Mary receives hyperdulia, the saints receive dulia, God receives worship. That's very important for us to understand those distinctions, because I think a lot of people get it wrong and think that we're worshiping Mary or we're worshiping the saints, and that's not it at all. Now, but we do pray to them for their intercession. What's that all about?
Well, this is the way I think about it. They're in heaven. They're a lot closer to God than I am. And so I ask them to pray for me because they understand God. They lived the life that I'm living as well. It might not be exactly the same, but they had trials, they had joys, they know what it's like to be human and to need the help of God. And they lived their lives in such a beautiful way. They are truly models of very heroic virtues.
And indeed, Saint Therese of Lisieux said that she wanted to spend her eternity showering down upon all of us roses, right? So she wanted to, in heaven, she saw her role of actually, therefore, sending down the blessings of God upon each and every single one of us so that we might grow in that heroic virtue. Now, they're also great models of that heroic virtue. Now, we keep saying this heroic virtue, but what is heroic virtue? It is going beyond just the virtues. So we have our virtues in each unit that we want our youth to cultivate, but it's not just about doing that virtue project and then putting aside. It's actually keeping that virtue, cultivating that virtue for the rest of their life, because virtue is the word for power in Latin. And so virtue means that you're manifesting one of the powers of God in your life. And if you do that heroically, that means that despite temptations, despite difficulty in one's prayer life, despite the fact that you might not always find it easy to exercise that virtue, especially in tough circumstances, you did. So you had heroic virtue. When it was difficult, you kept going. You persevered in doing the good. And that meant that you made the power of God visible in your life. So all the saints did that. They exercised heroic virtue. They modeled the fact that no matter what difficulty came to them in their life, they kept going forward with the power of God and manifesting that power of God. And that's what gave such a great witness to the power of God in their life.
Wow, that sounds so beautiful. And now they can help us do that too.
Exactly. And they can even do that from heaven. And if we cultivate a relationship with a saint or a couple of saints or many saints, then that relationship, because even though they're in heaven, that doesn't mean that we're disconnected. We're all a part of the communion of saints, the church here on earth, the church in purgatory, and the church triumphant in heaven. And so being the fact that we're all connected as a communion of saints, we actually maintain relationships spiritually beyond this life.
Is that why, Father, we have a confirmation saint?
That's right. Because we take that saint that we want to have so much modeled in our life, and we ask for their intercession, we ask for their blessing, and we seek to now incorporate how they lived heroic virtue in their life in our own life.
Wow, that is so beautiful.
Well, there's nothing more than I guess to say. God bless everybody.